boys and girls. Wake up. Come on, we gotta get on. Wake up, Frederick, will you help me? Frederick's asleep too. Maybe if I press his button. Wake up! Fall asleep. Okay, now they're awake. Frederick. Wake up! Good. Fall asleep. Frederick. Wake up with a big jump. 1, 2, 3, go! I think I decided to become a teacher because I was working on my master's in Greek and Latin at University of British Columbia, UBC, and I just got tired of being a scholar, and I'd always worked with kids as a camp counselor, and I thought this may bring me the freedom of imagination, the freedom of play that texts don't bring, and I may learn more. What you see with young children is you see human beings at their most positive, their most creative, their most willing to learn, to adapt, to adjust.
Yeah, where are you doing it? Yeah.
So I'd like my teaching to be the mirror side of that, reflect all of them. Gentle landing, and I go this way, and I go that way, and I go every which way.
I think Mr. H is a good teacher because he has all the puppets, or turn into real people. Mr. H.
Bob Heidbreder, Mr. H, has been recognized as an outstanding Grade 1 teacher for over 30 years. Children are excited to enter the magic puppet world in his classroom, where each school day turns into a story that makes learning challenging and fun.
I discovered using puppets as an artistic voice with a puppet that I bought in Seattle which was a skunk, and it looked so much like a real skunk that I brought it into the classroom, put it on my hand, and the children started asking these wonderful questions and wanted to touch it, and Skunky said no by shaking his hand. And then he went away, and the next day they came looking for him, and I had hidden him, someone found him, and then he started talking, and so they began to relate to this, and then they asked him if he had friends, and he said yes, much to my horror. And so then another puppet came, and then I started writing songs for them, or little rhymes, and through these rhymes I began teaching words and sounds. And so it sort of evolved by, again, the faith of the children in this make-believe creature.
Heffa, love, come get your power.
The way I work with puppets is different from others because it really is interactive. Give me my power. I want it. I want my power. I want my power. Give it to me. When something bad happens in the puppet world, and the children always want to, well, we'll just take it away, we'll trap it, we'll hurt it, we'll tie it up or something. And Alfetta says, no, you always must negotiate first. Wait, tricking's okay if you're not going to hurt. Talking is okay. But it's always about, again, the human relationship and not just banning someone, not just sending a puppet away. I love you.
My name is Alfetta. I am the most powerful wizard who comes from the puppet world. I am the wizard who helps Mr. H. I help him understand the puppets, and I help him understand how the puppet world works.
The wizards came about 2 or 3 years in because I realized that to get out of some situations there had to be a little bit of magic. And I realized how much children liked magic. And in fact, the puppets are magical to them. So the underlying concept of it is a sort of good magic.
Problem solving is the key to learning. The wizard, Alfetta, has sent clues to help the children search for their writing books, the wizard journals.
1, 2.
They're all
Ottawa letters.
I sort of think I am one of the prime movers of the puppet drama. Almost every letter they get from me moves the story forward.
The story is broadly based on trying to find something or trying to help some puppet or trying to bring another puppet here. But how we arrive at that and whether we arrive at it is really in the hands of the children. And the letters are the little start of the story each day. Girls and boys, today, as you know, is an important day. You have a series of things to do. A series means, you know, you do it in order. Behind here? No? Let's go on down. 10 days of clues to find the wizard journals. I've learned over the years what the children suggest takes the storyline in a different direction. Come in. What? Let's see. Can I have it? Look, who knew?
Me, I saw.
No.
Oh, letter.
Letter 6. Throughout the year, what happens is the children begin to take more and more control of the drama. They begin to offer more and more suggestions. There's a lot of back and forthing in their talking. As in life, their reactions to the drama become more complex.
We go down where the gym is, then we turn, and there's a Federalist room. Mr. Andias is this way. What, down the middle stairs? You go outside.
Oh. Well, the one thing I can tell you, this is the basement. But I can't say any more because I don't know.
You have anything of ours? Can we check your room? Can we? We can check your room? Okay. Now, fed away. What? You can find your own way back up. Here we go, back up, okay? There's some. So, how are we going to decide who gets which one? Okay, we can do it like that.
You could go around the whole circle and they could choose which one they want.
Okay, and if they don't get the one they want,
They can trade.
they could trade, right?
Yeah.
I know you're fair, so I'm not worried about your arguing. And everyone's here today, so that's perfect. Dylan and Isla, once you get it, you may go to your table and start drawing. Summer, Blake.
Oh, sorry. You gotta use them. Yeah. You have to put the bookmark in where you. This morning was very important because, well, we had to do lots of things by recess, and we had to get BB, attach the Heffa Hufflepuff, did our wizard journals, get the suitcase. We were opening our letters, trying to find our wizard journals. We followed the clues, and we found them. The puppets, like, if we, like, they just help. They can help lots of ways. Like, if we can't figure something out, then they give us an easier clue. We had to search for 9 clues. They were hard.
I love watching them grow in their creativity and their ability to solve the problems that the puppets and I put before them. At the beginning of the year, they cannot think of how to solve a problem. By the end of the year, their minds are exploding with possibilities to help the puppets out of their difficulties. The children respect the wizards because they think that they have some answers from experience that we don't have. And that's what education is.
seeing more questions and getting more answers, which leading to more questions, but generally getting a more complete view of the world. And I think the puppet world allows that complete view. So suddenly the children begin to feel a lot more self-assured, a lot less afraid of the uncertainties, because they're seeing a larger picture.
Puppets help us with things we can't find out. It's kind of a big story. Pretty amazing.
Each puppet has a song, and I was told by my daughter that when the puppet comes into the room, the children must sing that puppet song, which is a song that Bob has written. And they must sing that song or the puppet would be too lonely and too sad.
There's double A and double C, there's double D and double E, but
Who's singing my song? Who's singing my song? Oh, I like you. I didn't think I could come here. Oh, I made it. It's
Playing with language in that musical way is something that is not really part of our education system. And so I think he's sort of way ahead of the curve or outside the curve or whatever to have worked that into his classroom. And
Water elf, spray and play. Water elf, spray and stay.
He, you can't catch me. I'm as fast as a bumblebee.
well, I think Bob's love of language is evident everywhere in the classroom. And I think that he's very clever in his use of language, because embedded in the puppet songs and in the puppet stories and even in the puppet names, so the children don't really know that they're learning to read. It's a non-traditional approach, but it has a very obvious structure embedded within.
Oh, he, look at you, better watch what you're gonna say. Oh, he, look at you, better watch what you're gonna do.
Say my name, round and round, 3 times the same.
Bob is very playful. You know, maybe teachers, with all the demands on product and test results, you know, maybe it's hard for teachers to feel that they're in an environment in which play has a place. And if anything, that's something that, you know, Bob sort of exemplifies.
Water round, round and round. Water down, round and round, touch the ground.
W-A-T-E-R.
Learning through play, I mean, it almost sounds like a cliche, but you see it happening in that room.
I give you your wish.
Yay! Awesome! Wow!
We got, okay.
We got it.
So, can we open letter 2 now?
Mr. H used to write just for his classes, but the children's enthusiasm for his poetry has inspired him to write over 10 award-winning children's books.
I think that my own writing and the puppets are bound because they are both acknowledging the voice of children. The puppets have led me to an understanding of children, and the understanding of children has led me to be a more childlike writer.
Toe was Lake Ontario.
Mr. H is invited to teach poetry workshops in schools throughout Canada. As a children's poet, his work has roots in his own childhood.
My favorite poem to carry around was Fuzzy Wuzzy. And it went, Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear, Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair, Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't fuzzy, Wuzzy Wuzzy Wuzzy. And I like that because it goes zzz, and it made my mouth tingle. The words tasted good to me, and that's kind of what poetry should do. Now, I used to drive my sister crazy because I would go up to her and I'd say, oh, Susan, I have to tell you something important. And she'd say, what? And I'd say, Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it. Chocolate Lily Award was important to me. It was surprisingly important because I realized that it was an award that children voted on, not adults. Children all over the province voted for their favorite picture book, and Drumheller Dinosaur Dance won.
Nominated by students, parents and colleagues, Mr. H has been given the Prime Minister's Award for Teaching Excellence.
What it meant to me was that It was an acknowledgement that taking some risks in your teaching is worth it.
All right, I guess I gotta introduce myself, you know, but everybody should know me. My name is Stanley C. Crow at your service, and it's none of your business what the C stands for, okay? Anything you want doing, I'll do. It's gonna cost you a bit, but I'll do it. And right here is Mr. H, Mr. H teacher as opposed to Mr. H puppet. Now you gotta get that straight. Mr. H teacher as opposed to Mr. H puppet. Whatever you want doing, I'll do. He'll try, but I'll do it better.
I found them.
Okay, now should we bring him or leave him?
Bring him.
Bring him, okay?
No, leave him. No, bring him. Just great.
Okay.
Hey! I'm not sure about this. Here I was watching to make sure. I watched, though. None of you peeked. None of you peeked. All right. Where's the money? And I'll tell you what's in there. Then you can look. Okay, I'm taking the box and I'm out of here. I'm out of here.
He is a bit of a hard-nosed businessman. He demands money from us for every little thing that we do. This morning, we don't have the money to pay him. So we're going to try to negotiate with him to see what's in the box. What kind of voice should you use for flattery? Oh, okay. Let's see if, shall we see if he falls for it?
Yeah.
Taylor?
Oh, you're so beautiful.
Well, I am a handsome bird, I am.
Isla.
You are so kind and beautiful.
Stanley C. Crow usually comes once children are fairly certain of how the puppet world works, and then Stanley will come in and throw it off and start lying and start cheating.
I teach the children that there are tricksters around, and you gotta be careful of a trickster at every turn. Not that I'm one of them, mind you, and they would never trick me. Hey, one time, you know, they tried to make false money. They tried to make false crow bills, but I found out. I can always find out. Yeah, so I think I teach them to be aware of the world around them.
I think from Stanley, they learn that, you know, not everything is predictable. And so it builds in that sense that, you know, things are not always even, that you have to use your intelligence to judge. They're learning about what works best, just thinking of yourself or thinking of the group. They will often say to Stanley, only thinking of yourself, you're not thinking of the other puppets. So I think that Stanley is there as a counterweight, you know, to how you begin to build a group so you think of everyone.
Little girl. Feet, remember you'll need 2 feet each, so that's different. Summer, could you hand out feet? We negotiated with Stanley and we got the parts to make the crows. We are making these crows, of course, because they're fun and they're interesting to make, but also they're going to help us solve a puppet problem. It was really important that it wasn't in isolation, because so much learning happens in isolation. I think our lives are fragmented enough. Children's lives are fragmented. They do little isolated things, and to pull them together to make the connection is really what art and drama and being a reflective human being is about. Erwin, Evan, John, Rasmus, Isla, those are the other ones. Could someone bring me my one too? Zickin', nickin', chicken stew, keep the puppet safe today. Zickin', nickin', chicken stew, keep trouble far away. Some parents were afraid of the magic because they thought that it may lead children, I think, to an unreality. But of course, magic is part of childhood, and it's part of our way of thinking, and it's actually a metaphor for me for the joy of life. And so I think that you have to acknowledge that in the children. Just choose one puppet, there's some back there, touch, and then put your wands away, okay?
In the beginning, some parents did and would naturally have concerns or misgivings about the educational approach or the style of teaching. I mean, if you see glimpses of it or hear what the children are saying about what they did in their day, it doesn't sound like a regular classroom.
Okay, listen carefully. When you hear a little sound, your journals will have changed. I think really if a traditionalist were to say, this program is not covering the curriculum, I would have to challenge by saying, will you show me exactly where it isn't? Certainly through the puppets, you're covering all the language that you need. In fact, you're probably going deeper into language because of discussion and because of the puppet songs.
Shaving cream, TBW.
The puppets will lead them into different math, will lead them into different science. I think it's covering the curriculum not in discrete parts, but in integrated, interlocking parts, which is, of course, I feel how life is lived. STOP, good. I think the worst thing that happened, really, and it really surprised me, and this was with the kindergarten class, a puppet brought some magic, which was going to protect the puppets, and protect the classroom. And one child asked if they could take the magic home, and I said yes. Well, one child then took the puppet home and decided that it was protecting the child so much that she and her sister could go to the beach alone. So they went out their back door. Their parents, of course, were in a panic. I debriefed with the parents, and I had a long talk with the children about, where did this magic work? Does it work elsewhere? Does it just work here with the puppets? So sometimes I think one of the things that I would forget early on, but I got much better at, was sort of always make sure that, they understand that, that the make-believe has its limits. This morning, the children have learned Everfast, the unicorn song. He's the large unicorn from the woods of Xanagog. We've made the crows, which rescued him once. We've made those crows. Stanley sent us the parts. And we have now surrounded him in crows so that he is comfortable here. Those are his protections. So today we're going to start saying goodbye to the puppets through Everfast, who will put protection in them as they travel and also send them into a sleep. I'm skunk, and I like trees.
Take me
To the woods, please, please. I was the very first puppet that came. Do you remember my story? How I used to be a real skunk when Mr. H was a little boy. And then a wizard came and he turned me into a play skunk. And I've been with Mr. H for 52 years. Ever since he was 6 years old. But goodbye, Summer. Goodbye, Maitreya. Bye, Rasmus. Bye, Evan. I remember your brother, too. Goodbye. Part of drama and part of life should be ritual. And there are certain rituals that are very important to children. And one is an ease with saying goodbye and how you say goodbye. And there are ways you can say goodbye that make you more comfortable. And I think that that's a kind of life lesson. So the goodbyes all through life are important, and to handle them with a certain amount of grace and ritual is a way of dealing with the vagaries of life. Up, 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 up to plop. I hope that the children always take away a sense that education has joy, that learning is joyful, and that there are many ways to learn, and you have to find the way that is happiest for you.
The puppets go to Pop because it's almost the end of the year, and they go over there for the summer. They go to Plop because they have to. If they don't, the school's closed, and then they get lost, and the power goes away.
Here, Summer, you can have this one.
I looked around, and this was one of the most loving, encompassing parent groups I've ever had. It was one of the most delightful group of children who were just so excited by things. I felt that the signs were that some finality was happening, and intuitively, and I've always acted intuitively and not rationally, intuitively it said something is happening, something is pointing towards one kind of ending, and I felt that I should go with that kind of ending.
On my daughter's last day of school, she said, "Mr. H is an elf who will never die." And she's right. I want you to take a good look at him. Have you noticed how he doesn't age like the rest of us? Like all wise men, Mr. H came to us as a teacher, and in the end, he's affected all our lives. He taught us that learning every single day should be a joy.
We would like to present a picture of us when we were 5 with Mr. H.
In my youth, which I'm still in, as a child, I remember very strongly the incredible gifts Mr. H gave me, nurturing and cultivating, enriching creativity, love of learning, interest, all these things I've carried with me my entire life.
Thank you all very much. Excuse me, I didn't want to have this. I said, why don't we just all sort of meet at Fiasco's, because that seems like my career. But a lot of other people disagreed with me, so I decided to have this, and it was very important to me that parents come and people I have taught, and I can't tell you how touched I am by the students who spoke. That's what it's about for me. I've been blessed to spend my working life with 6-year-olds. And I guess the ultimate final lesson I learned from them is life really is full of laughter and love. Love and laughter. I don't think it gets any better than that. Do you, Stanley? Yep, I like fresh roadkill myself. And remember, puppets outlive people. It was good to come to your retirement. See you all at the funeral. Stanley C. Crow at your service. How about a drink? Thank you very much. So I really feel that learning is an emotional, biological act that happens through the heart and the mind drawn together.